Hey, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. Welcome to Avatar, The Last Podcasters. Chris, I think it's safe to say this is an episode that people have kind of been looking forward to, or at least some semblance of this episode. We're doing unpopular Avatar, The Last Airbender opinions. Don't get your hopes up, hardcore Korra fans. We're going to do unpopular Korra opinions next week, aka in about, 45 minutes from right now. But before we get started, Chris, as always, how you doing? How you feeling? How's the family?
I'm doing great. Oh, I forgot to mention to you, we COVID hit the house
Oh,
lately. Um, but like my two kids, I have three kids. Two of them tested negative, and then the toddler tested positive. But he was perfectly fine. Like there are times that he's been sicker, and I've and and like he just has absolutely no symptoms right now. And it's well, he probably won't have any. That was like a week at this point, almost a week ago. I think I was a little sick last week. They're really pretty asymptomatic. My wife was a lot more sick than me. But so that's just kind of annoying. But really, I'm doing great.
I'm sorry to hear that your kids had COVID. Do kids get standard COVID shots, or is there like a kid
Yes,
adapted?
yeah. No, they do.
Okay.
All my kids have been. Uh, I'm a sheep, apparently. I'm kidding. All my kids have been vaccinated and boosted.
Interesting. Well, hey, hopefully it's passed through your house. We are all healthy in this house, sickness wise. But Chris, I woke up yesterday morning and I've never felt old before. So I woke up yesterday morning and just like my whole back and shoulder and side and neck hurt, and still this morning as well. And I just like can't turn my head. I feel like George Clooney Batman. Anybody? Schumacher
Freeze.
Batman. Never leave the cave without it.
Will you,
And
Batwoman? Oh my gosh, terrible film.
long
Need to
story.
bring back George Clooney, Batman. That's what James Gunn should have done.
I mean, you
And
could bring back George Clooney Batman and attempt to make a
and bring
movie
back
around
Dean
him.
Cain Superman while he's at it.
I
I'm kidding.
Okay, why not?
Is that Dean
Is
Cain?
that Dean Cain? I'm still so excited we got to see him in person. And anyway, yeah, if I look really uncomfortable for the next 3 weeks of recording, it's because we're doing that all tonight, and I'm just super stiff and in a lot of pain. But I don't feel too bad just like sitting as long as I don't move. Hey, Chris, that's fun news. We got our panel request.
Yes. Oh, don't give up too much information because apparently in the email it was like don't say the timing and stuff
I will
because
not say
we
the
could
timing.
change it.
I'll say
But
the
yeah,
panel
our panel got
request.
approved. We did get 20 more minutes than last year. So if anyone's gonna be at Planet City Comic Con coming up in March, we will be there. More news to come. I mean, yeah, it'll be a trivia. I think I can share that. It's not like someone from Planet City Comic Con will be like, "Don't, don't do it." Dang it, he said trivia. Cut them from the thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But we'll be
nobody's
back.
gonna.
So sometimes I have pipe dreams. Of like, so Grey Dog Griffin was announced that she'll be at, who is the voice of Azula. She'll be at Planet City Comic Con, and I'm just hoping that's like the first of announcements of Avatar voice cast. Like one time, Planet City Comic Con was like, "Hey, who you want to see?" And I said, "Oh, I want to see Jenna Varney, Dante Bosco, Grey Dog Griffin, and so forth, so forth." As as Avatar Last Podcasters, and then I also said it would be a dream to host a panel with them all on there. Just trying to push that. And Jenna Varney did like she liked the tweet, so I'm hoping at least that she has plans to maybe be there with Dante Bosco.
That would be
That would be great.
fantastic.
Also, it'd
And
be really great. I just imagine myself hosting a panel with all of them and somehow just crushing it, even like dressed as a mon though. Also,
I think we could settle with a panel with one of them would be cool, right?
yeah. I mean,
that
like
that in
I
itself would be a
in my
substantially cool
vision
dream.
in my vision head, no, I'm like in that big old space that they do like the really big panels, and I am like the narrator of the panel, just as I'm on. In my head, that is like the cool. you know how you sometimes just think of like the best case scenario for something, and it's not going to come true at all. And so that's what I'm thinking in my head now. They tend to hire actual people who do this for a living to do those things, but still,
That makes no sense.
yeah, whatever. I mean, we've been on this podcast now for going on more than 4 years. Granted, if they look at some of some of our, they'll be like, "Oh no, he talks kind of too monotone. He doesn't have all the energy. I can bring the energy when I want to bring the energy. I'll just be really
Watch
tired
our panel
afterwards."
from last year. The energy was there.
Yeah,
It was good.
it was good. Yeah.
That's why they gave us 20 more minutes, Chris. They rewarded
Yeah,
us.
I think so, and I
At
think it's
this
still a
rate,
good. I think it's a good time.
at this rate, in 10 more years, we'll have 4 more hours of panel. You know, if we get plus 20 every year, it'll just be a whole
Yeah.
afternoon
This is going to be a career for me doing panels, just in Planet City
just at
Comic.
Kansas City because we both have like families and stuff and don't like to
Yeah.
travel much. Chris, I think our lack of traveling is going to take us out of the running of a career path here, but to be fair, it's not that we don't like to travel. We just traditionally don't. Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. But hey, we got accepted in the panel, and that's cool because the worst case scenario is that we get to wear the cool badges where we walk in for free with little cool badge things that we get to have a panel, and that's
Yeah.
pretty fun.
I
That's
talked to John. He seems like he seemed excited to come back. He just asked his wife and stuff.
yeah. I mean, he just
Typical.
stood me up for a date on Saturday, but whatever. That's fine. That's cool, John. I get it.
Oh, really?
It was just a video game and toy swap meet type show thing. Who has anything going on in the middle of December? That's ridiculous. You should be embarrassed. Just kidding. John, come back to Comic-Con with us. And will you dress as Amon again? No, don't reveal your secrets. We'll reveal the secrets later.
I probably will.
I'll probably just get a fire ferret and just
But
the coat felt good.
you could wear I have a blue spirit mask that you can wear. Just get like just wear a black shirt and black
Something, yeah,
pants.
just black clothes and then a blue. Yeah, I can handle that, absolutely. Something that's relatively, that's my thing. I want to be comfortable as I'm walking around all day. So yeah, if I can wear
that's
some
easy.
black sweatpants and a black hoodie and a blue spirit mask, yeah, great. I'll crush
That
that.
Amon suit was probably the most comfortable I've ever been cosplaying as something. It was very breathable.
It looked thermodynamically well balanced, if that's a word in clothing. Well, hey,
All right.
yeah, look for our
Keep-
panel. Chris, in the meantime, let's talk about unpopular Avatar The Last Airbender opinions. The way it's going to work
All right,
is Chris
so
is going to lead us through
you
some
keep
of the
going.
big ones. And then we got lots of other submissions from the fans, too, that we're going to kind of lightning round our way through.
Yes, yes. So I have three. My first one we talked about recently. And I know this is an unpopular opinion because I don't think anyone really agreed with me on this. Like, I don't think, like, I got a lot of feedback from that and did not get a lot of agreement. I think Avatar: Last Airbender could use more death, and you can watch our video, our episode on that, to get our very in-depth thoughts on that. But I think more death will add a couple more different character arcs to it. It'll make it a little bit more realistic because these characters are in war. And I think it adds weight to the characters. And I've been thinking a lot about that because I've been binging Naruto, and there's a lot of death in Naruto. It's really realistic, like having characters deal with the death of a close one and to be in there and be with them at that moment. I'm not saying that Avatar doesn't have loss, because it absolutely does, but there's something very relatable about dealing with the concept of death because we all have to deal with it.
That was, first of all, that was a fun episode to record and discuss. It was a fun discussion. So, yeah, we don't do this very often, but plugging a past episode, that was just a good talk, and it'll summarize our thoughts. Chris, I agree that is unpopular because I disagree with the opinion. But
You did that.
but it is a really good story building point where your unpopular opinion though would likely create a more powerful narrative. I would say I would be satisfied or more satisfied if you recall that was episode 3 when he finds all the dead air nomads.
Yes. Episode 3, Southern Air Temple.
If they could have added more weight to that somehow or other without just being horribly traumatic, just 2 or 3 episodes in, that could have scratched my itch a little bit, or could have scratched some of that itch for me, or just make the deaths that were there more impactful. Because there's a couple in the show, just make those hit a little harder.
Like, Jet died, and they seem to be kind of over it by the next episode.
Yeah, and even the Jet dying, like it kind of, like it drug out slow, and then I don't know, it was a weird anticlimax the way that he died, kind of. Maybe not.
I mean, and again, I do understand.
Give him more weight.
Shows like anime can stretch out deaths, and it can stretch out characters' reactions to deaths because anime like Naruto.
We grew up in the Dragon Ball Z era of stretching things out, man. Like
Naruto Shippuden is like 500 episodes. It's a lot. It's a lot. So they can take their time. I understand the limitations that Avatar: Last Airbender had on it. Completely understand that. From a sense of this is a Y7 show, into hey, we only have 22 minutes per episode, 28 episodes per season. Like we sort of gotta expedite some things.
Well, again, so I won't agree with your literal opinion, but I will agree with your opinion that something.
You're the one
or the other
that,
could.
You're the one that was like, oh, if we had to kill someone, it was like kill Appa, which I was completely not on board with. Just kill Hakoda and maybe Iroh. I think that's what I settled on.
Don't make me laugh today,
Mostly
man.
Hakoda.
It hurts too bad to laugh today. I'm just going for shock value with killing Appa. But
gosh, killing Appa.
Just going for shock value.
We probably lost. If we had any new viewers, we probably lost them with that one.
What's the average lifespan of a flying bison? You know, they probably die sooner than humans anyway. I don't know. But
or they live longer. Like how?
I don't know. How old does a regular bison get?
Yeah, I know, right? And a manatee. I wonder, what's the lifespan of a manatee?
I feel like since we're talking about mostly endangered things like manatees and bison, there's a joke about here. It's like, oh, I don't know how long they're supposed to live. We'll never find out, you know? Yeah. There's an endangered species joke in there somewhere. But what I will, it's a great unpopular opinion to have, and it's great in this episode, and I will concede that something could have added, like, more depth, more drama, more deepness to the Avatar narrative. I personally will concede that. Great unpopular opinion.
Wow. Okay, so bison live up to 20 years.
Okay.
Manatee live up to 60 years.
No kidding.
If you average that out.
Wow.
40 years. I don't know if that was the natural life expectancy of manatee, but that was just the quick little stuff I looked up.
Do we know how old Appa is? Is he roughly Aang's age?
I mean, I would guess he is roughly Aang. He's probably younger than Aang.
Right. Do you get a bison like sort of commensurate with your age?
Aang got the bison when Aang got Appa, because there's an episode in maybe Appa's lost it, maybe Tales of Ba Sing Se, where it shows Aang meeting Appa, and Aang is probably like 8. It's before he got his airbender tattoos, and Appa's like not taller than Aang. He comes to like Aang's head, and so Appa was probably less than a year old, I would think, at that point. And so Aang is probably about 7 years older than Appa.
So I'm just saying the possibility exists. No, that's just for shock value. I can't kill animals on my show. Just get rid of Zuko.
Oh jeez. Yeah, we also lost some other people there. Quick shout out.
There's the other. I was hoping that would be a fun segue to your next unpopular opinion. I'm probably off by one.
Not to kill Zuko, no. Quick shout out to people who liked our Facebook page and follow it. We're like above 1,000 now.
Yeah,
cool.
That's awesome.
Great.
There's like 1,000 people that like actively click the like button on the page. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, Okay, my second one is a little. We're getting a little bit more.
Are you getting more
I think
unpopular
here.
or less
Yes,
unpopular?
I'm getting more
You're
unpopular.
building. Okay, okay. Well,
Yes,
the first
building
one's
up
pretty
to that.
unpopular.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
second one is that Aang had a bad character arc and is somewhat a poorly written character. Sorry. It's just
If we
when
had a
I think
live
about
audience right now, they'd be
I'm
throwing
like, "Ugh."
throwing tomatoes or whatever people do.
Listen, I love Aang. I truly do. He he's not a bad character. He's a great character. There's so much great stuff about him. Like the kid who doesn't want power but is the most powerful person in the world. That is a great character setup. But when I think about his character arc, he doesn't really have a character arc. Um, a char- I once saw in this book that a character arc is defined by the character dealing with the lie, confronting the lie that they tell themselves. And when I look at characters' really good character arcs, they have that. Zuko, the lie he tells himself is, I want to be, I want to live up to my father desires for me. Like I have to capture the Avatar to regain my honor, to get regain my title as the Prince of the Fire Nation, and I need my throne. Like that's how I'm going to do it. That's a lie that he keeps telling himself. Korra, her lie at first was, as the Avatar, I'm the most powerful person in the world, and I can solve any problem through punching it. Like that is a lie that she tells herself, and she works through that. And she used to define herself as being the Avatar, and she pushed and got through that. Aang's biggest lie is like, I don't want to be the Avatar. And that's kind of fine, but he gets over it by like episode two. He's like, I'm the Avatar, okay? I have to do these things. He kind of gets over that. The thing is, not all characters who are greatly written have character arc, and that's also fine. Uh, but when the character doesn't have a character arc, like some characters are just like they are they don't have to grow with the world. The world needs to grow with them. They need to be the inspiration for the world to change their views and their lives that they tell themselves. Aang doesn't really have that effect on other people that directly. Like he's not the one who pushed Zuko. He, I mean, he nudged people maybe here and there, but it wasn't like emphatic. He's not the one that like nudged Zuko to change his ways, or even like Katara to change her viewpoints on things, or Sokka or Toph. Um, like everyone around Aang, I feel like has had a good character arc. Like Toph, she started off her lie that she told herself was, "I don't need anyone. I can take care of myself. I don't need friends, anything like that. I can take care of myself." She completely changed by the end of the show. So I would, if you're not gonna give Aang a character arc, make Aang the catalyst for the change in all these individual characters. You want to make it seem like the world wasn't just missing an avatar; the world was missing a person with the heart and the joy and the forgiveness that Aang has. The show, I think, would have been stronger if it had that.
I like that opinion a lot. That's a good hot take. I think most people will not care for that opinion. It's a good fit here. Chris, I'll say I don't think that it's non-existent. I'll say that it's bouncy. The lie that Aang tells to himself it's stuff I'd never really thought about before, which is why it's very interesting to me. The lie that Aang tells himself about not wanting to be the Avatar, but by the end of the series, I'm gonna say it's bouncy, and he's got weirder ups and downs that we've talked about before. But he essentially is sort of finding inventive ways to mesh his values with the Avatar values. So there's still some kind of an arc there. It's just not very satisfying. Certainly not compared to the arcs around him. And I had never thought of like, all right, well, if he can't be an arc, being a catalyst. That somehow that feels more likely to me, and that they probably could have done a
Yeah.
little better job of making him a catalyst for some of those changes. Whereas usually it's being shouldered by another one of Team Avatar characters or Iroh as being a catalyst. So I think that's a great
Hmm.
point. Wouldn't say it's not there. I'd just say it's a little bumpy and not huge either. It's not a big arc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think there's stuff there. There's something I was thinking about. If the show, if I want to give Aang a character arc, I think it would be like Aang's perception of what an avatar needs to be is someone who strikes fear into the heart of people and smites people all around. Like, and the thing is, he deals with this a little bit. He has like that nightmare about him being the Avatar and like him turning into Quazilla. But it's not a constant story thread. It's like every now and then he'll think about it and deal with it, and then he's kind of over it. Um, and he talks, and it could have been helped and supported with the finale and things like that if they just would have made it a bigger point of focus. Because to me, it wasn't really much focus at all. That would have been a little bit better. And also, again, I think you still add on to it is him being the catalyst for people's change of hearts and change of minds.
Maybe another instance where adding a little more weight to certain things might have helped a bit.
Ooh, yeah, like Katara dealing with the death of her father, and Aang being that like this forgiveness,
Make it
or
punch
not
a
even
little
forgiveness,
harder
because yeah,
and make it
like
last a little
I know
longer.
yeah, he's like, I know the Fire Nation took your mother from you when you were a girl. They took your father from you, but you have to hold on to hope. Like you have Katara going down maybe even darker path.
Or
But
getting
you still have
farther
Aang
down
there
that
being
path.
like,
Yeah, like
yeah, yeah,
so. But I'm gonna speak in at least slight defense here. But I still think that might be a difference of the well. It's still true. It's completely true. I believe. I'm with you. It's more. It feels like it's just a product of the type of show that they were having at the time, where the episodes were serial, but not as serial as we've come
yeah,
to be
yeah.
used to today. So
That could be it. Yeah.
it exists and accurate, but I kind of understand why it happened, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, Avatar.
Solid,
I
solid
still,
take.
for the record, I consider Avatar: Last Airbender to be the greatest, not only cartoon of all time, not only show of all time, but like the greatest work of fiction and that's very a very hyperbolic statement. I consider it to be the
But it's
greatest work
not
of fiction
it's not
that I
hyperbolic
have.
because you truly believe it. It's only hyperbole if you like, yeah, this is the greatest ever, and also Naruto is the greatest, and also no, like you've consistently and repeatedly said that one of these. So I don't think that's hyperbole. I think you genuinely feel that way. It's a powerful statement. Great take.
Okay.
What's the big one here?
So
What's the big reveal?
this one, I might get knives. You know that
People are gonna come to our
tangled
con,
that
to our panel, and they're
that
gonna
tangled yeah
stab you.
yeah. You know that tangled meme where what is his name? Ryder has all those knives on him. This take is going to get that.
That is my favorite Disney song, by the way, if anybody's curious.
Huh, interesting.
Hmm?
Oh yeah, because it's the I Have a Dream, is it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
slaps. Okay, there's no bass in it. It doesn't slap. Chris, I'm glad you remembered the conversation. Anyway, derailing us. My bad.
Today, you might not know who the rapper E40 is, but E40
Not
is a
familiar.
rapper out of the Bay Area, and he coins a lot of terms that gets used in black slang. I think he said he coined the term slaps. Because someone was like, asked him in an interview, was like, does food slap? He's like, no, food does not slap. It smacks. Like, food does not slap.
That's a good take.
It
I like that.
smacks. And then he got mad about it. He was like, you can't tell me, like, I'm the one that invented the words. But yeah, that word, I did know that the word came from the Bay Area. I don't know the validity that he came up with. I wouldn't doubt it because E40 does come up with a lot of different words that have been used. Been used. Anyway, not important.
For the record,
So,
the Avatar closing credits song, I feel like legitimately, in a literal way, slaps. A lot of good bass in there. A lot of good bass.
my number one hot take, unpopular opinion, is that
I'm nervous.
is that Iroh is a terrible father.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
we've talked about this. We talked about this before. Because we talked about this probably in our Father's Day,
So
ranking the fathers in our
that's
Father's Day
probably.
thing.
I'm not shocked, and I was waiting to be shocked. But I
Oh,
think it's
okay.
I think it's because we've kind of gone through this hoop before, of in a very literal way. Like, yeah, that dude was a bad dad. Not
But the
supposed to.
thing is, if you say that, people are like, "What are you talking about?" Iroh's great. Like Iroh's like okay. There's this one artist I really love. Her fan art I think is really great. She actually did the so she used to do fan. She still does fan art. Um, and she did the art for this upcoming book. Actually, I think it's already out. It's called Unfreezing Day about Aang. She does it in a little like cartoonish style, but she also does anyway. She does a great art. She had this one really great piece of art that's like Iroh being hugged by all of Team Avatar. Beautiful stuff. Granted, Iroh wasn't that close to a lot of these members of Team Avatar. Like he was pretty much close to Zuko, and that's it. Um, but and I think Iroh underneath it, yeah, this is great. This was like she did this on Father's Day. She's like, "Happy Father's Day to Iroh, the best uh father in the Avatar universe." I was like, "He's like one of the worst." Like the reason why is
Especially
that
if you go off
to
the
his
literal empirical evidence of his fatherhood and not
yes
the sort of surrogate.
as as yeah as a father to Lu Ten, his beliefs that the Fire Nation should rule the world for whatever reason,
Or his
he
unwillingness
shared
to combat them. So even if he didn't feel that
yes,
way,
yep, he passed that down to Lu Ten, and Lu Ten died because of it. Lu Ten died in an unjust war because he saw his father, the general of the Fire Nation. I assume he was inspired by his father
who doesn't want to be like
to
their
do
dad
this
if their
thing. Yeah,
dad's like present
I
in the.
mean, in his writings, he writes to there's a uh, and it tells about and say when Iroh is on there talking, singing "Leaves from the Vine." There's a note with Lieutenant's face on it. It says like, "See you when the war is over, your beloved son, Lieutenant." Like he clearly idealized his father, Iroh, and that led to his death. It would be like if a member of the KKK passed down to his son racism, and his son died doing something racist. I don't know, whatever. It would
Lots
be
of choices.
his fault. Yeah. Like it would have been those teachings and those beliefs that you just inherently automatically pass down to your children. Iroh knew this was bullcrap that he was believing, or he wouldn't have changed his way. Like that was the catalyst to him changing his viewpoints on things.
Yeah, either way, it was either like actively supporting and believing, or just like apathetically not contraindicating in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think when people don't accept this, they are doing a disservice to the amazing character arc that Iroh went on and to his character as a whole.
I think you are and should give Iroh a lot of credit for being a tremendous surrogate father, but even then,
Yes, absolutely.
he's only a tremendous surrogate father like by the end. You know, we've discussed on numerous occasions that like he's not finished his journey. That's part of what makes Iroh maybe the best character in the show, or at least one of the most likes, is that he's still on his journey in his old age through the show. But like even in those moments, I don't know, he's not a great father until the end, even of the show. He's working there.
And I
He's
think he's
getting there.
trying with Zuko. I think he's taking the approach with Zuko that he needs to take. He can't be like Zuko, your father is a terrible human being.
Well,
Or
it is
Zuko would just
also
outwardly reject Iroh.
he and Iroh don't have that bond yet either. Like that bond also grows. I don't think they start out more of a uncle nephew
Yeah,
place, and they end up in a father son place. So like
yeah, yeah.
even with all of that evidence in tow, I think it's still safe to say that like yeah, it took him a really long time to become a great father in a surrogate sense. But the vast majority of his adult life, that he was not. So yeah, I'm down with that. I will soundly support your unpopular opinion. Chris, did people vote against that? Did you have any heated conversations on that one?
No, I did. So I didn't share my unpopular opinions on
The
that.
same. Okay,
But
that makes
just a
sense.
while ago, when I shared it on Twitter, I got a lot of people. I got a
You
lot of
shared it
nods
on
out.
Father's Day to spice up Twitter on
Yes.
Father's Day. Well, man, now I mean, if Elon Musk disagrees with you, you know you'll have your account banned next week.
True.
Chris, another great take. I didn't come up with any of my own because the only one I have, just the two, right? I don't know if you count like not liking Zutara as an unpopular opinion or not, because that's so 50-50 divisive. I don't know if it's exactly 50-50, but like everybody is pretty
We'll get to that, yeah.
hard one way or the other. And then the other one, of course, is that Jet sucks. Jet's a bad character. He listen, that kid grew up in the woods. There's no way that kid got good at martial arts hanging out in the woods with a bunch of other little miscreants. I've seen what kids do on their own, and that's not it. There's no way that kid is that good. There's no way Katara's fallen for that kid. Not for more than like a hot minute. He's a poorly baked character, and I'm glad what do I want to say here? Go tread cautiously. I'm not glad he died. I'm glad he does not make a lot of appearances in the show because I do not like him as a character. That's my only hot takes.
All right. Viewer unpopular opinions.
Thanks
Terry,
for commenting, by the way.
Yes, thank you all for commenting. I appreciate it greatly. Terry, Ozai overrated villain because he's just following Sozin's footsteps. Mon, Zahir, Unalaq, and Sozin follow their own paths of being a villain. I agree with that. I
think it's safe to say that's not all that unpopular. I think a lot of people point to Ozai's soft villainy as maybe a weaker spot of the show.
Yeah. Ed says Katara had every right to be hostile and distrustful towards Zuko when he wanted to join their group. Zuko's too much of a whiner and gets more sympathy for his actions than he deserves.
I mean, I sort of share that opinion.
I knew you would share that opinion.
That's why. Listen, he's just dramatic, and that draws people to him. Like the squeaky wheel gets the oil, Chris. That's the old.
Oh, I do want to say something real quick that popped in my head about Zuko. So there's the scene in Zuko Alone, where the mother, right, like Zuko's like he beats that guard guy. He's like, I am Zuko, heir of the Fire Nation, son of Fire Lord Ozai, heir to the throne. And then like the mom is like, get away from him, get away from my son. And like some people are like, oh, poor Zuko. I'm like, and some people are like, oh, that mom is such a bee.
No, that mom reacted how I would have reacted.
That mom just lost her oldest son to the war, and now who she thought could be somewhat of a replacement, you find out that he is the son of the Fire Lord, and he's proud about it.
He's like most of the root cause of all this.
Yeah. Like, hey, should we just like kidnap him right now? Maybe. Like, if I was them, I would have kidnapped Zuko. As although none of them was probably strong enough. They all seem pretty weak. But if I was them, I would have jumped him. I don't care if he's like 17, 16. He would have been a prisoner of war at that point.
Listen, I don't know that that's that unpopular of an opinion.
The Tara thing, it's funny. I remember watching in college that episode.
It's hard to call any Zutara opinion unpopular because it feels so divisive.
Yeah. Watching Air Temple where Katara was like, she was threatening Zuko. She was like, I don't, everyone else might be buying your change, but if you make one step out of line, you won't have to worry about your destiny anymore. And I will end it right then and there. It's like, holy crap! And I remember watching that with my roommate. Not the first. It was probably like the fourth time I watched it. My roommate was like, Katara's being a bee. I'm like, she's not. Like, she trusted
She's being
Zuko.
a mom.
Yeah, like she's being protective. Like she was the first one to trust Zuko, so she should be. He straight up betrayed her. So I'm cool with Katara threatening him like that. Okay.
Not to mention, it's just a kind of a baller Katara moment.
It was, yeah, it really was. One of these days, we're gonna do an episode on like the best like BA lines in the series. I have a list.
That'd be awesome.
Kimberly says shipping Oder, Katara, and Toph. Yeah, I have no
Okay.
real qualms against that. I haven't heard that before though, so that is.
I was trying to think if that's one that's ever come up in my mind, and I think the answer is no.
Yeah. Seeley says helps people understand Buddhism better since people in the West have no idea what Buddhism is. And then he kind of made some generalization about Christianity, which I don't agree with, probably because I'm Christian.
Listen, this ain't a Christian podcast, but we're Christians in here. That's I wouldn't consider that an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, it's just
at
like
its base, though.
just
a nice note.
I enjoy learning about different cultures and stuff, even though I don't. It's not like I'm gonna ever leave, but I just enjoy learning about different peoples and their culture and stuff. Anyway, Caitlin has a lot, which
of course
is great.
she does.
You know,
Thanks,
we
Caitlin.
love Caitlin writing.
Caitlin is our writer. We don't pay her. She just writes a lot for us.
Shawn Caitlin. Says Aang shouldn't have been with Katara. Should have been a childhood crush like Toph and Sokka. Aang is not interesting at all as a character. I wouldn't go that far, but I said what I said before.
A little harsh, but I see the point.
Aang acts more like an airbender than an avatar. He's truly an airbender first and then an avatar second. You know, I think I'll agree with that. Katanga is not romantic. You know, I'm Katanga shipper, but I agree with that because they're like mostly depicted as teenagers. I don't think any teenagers, no matter how much chemistry they have, is romantic.
I don't either. I've never.
Even as a teenager, when I was crushing on girls, I didn't have romance.
No.
Like I don't know what that. I barely know what that looks like now.
The perfect ending to the show would be like you look like years later, and they're all just dating and married to completely different people that we never met before, because that's how life works. Nobody's gonna. There's a good unpopular opinion.
Yeah. She continues to say the beach was too little, too late for what they did with Azula. I love that episode. It's glorious and satisfying that Ozai manipulated Azula and the Phoenix King after all the manipulations she'd done to other people. That's really true. We don't talk that much about. I think some people tend to paint Azula in like a more innocent light, when I don't think she's that innocent.
I mean, you always want to, especially like the younger people are, the more you want to give them second chances. But you know, she's had multiple opportunities.
Yeah. Katara wasn't thinking when offering Zuko the spirit water. Ozai is fine the way he is. He is abusive to his kids and his wife, and he is the big bad. I do think that's an unpopular opinion because that kind of contradicts someone's. I would change Ozai in some type of fashion.
No, I think that is I think that's a legitimately unpopular opinion in a good way, like in what we're looking for. I think most people think Ozai is a bad villain, but what they're saying or what I'm getting is like, yeah, you know, it's the distant big bad. He's a mean guy, he's powerful, and he's like a imposing distant threat. So, you know, I disagree with it, but I think it's a good unpopular opinion.
Yes. Ozai should have died. I think probably 20% of the will probably agree. I think that's unpopular.
Maybe more.
I don't know. I feel like I change my opinion on that often.
I don't love that Aang just got to have a new kind of bending to solve his problem. That's always, we just talked about that like 2 weeks ago on plot conveniences.
Man, someone wrote in the comments of it was I want to say his name is Scott. So he writes a lot of. He comes up like really interesting alternate universes. Like he would often write them out. I do read them. And I appreciate them. But he wrote something I never thought about before. He kind of rewrote the end there. Shawn, how much time are we at right now? I'm just curious.
39 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. We talked a lot before, which is probably skewing your perception. Yeah.
I went on a whole spiel about Henry Cavill.
It was a great talk. We talked about Henry Cavill, Black Batman. Like, y'all should have been there.
Oh, anyway, he was he was saying that like instead of that Deus Ex Machina of Aang learning energy bending, he could have learned. I'm like, dang it, I'm forgetting what he wrote exactly. But I never thought about it this way to rewrite, and I thought it would have been actually better.
I,
Um,
I
oh my gosh.
didn't think
Anyway,
about
I think it's
this.
in our last video. Go look at it.
I didn't think
The
about
comment
this
though.
at that time, but if you consider that that was like a point that I made, it's like, well, all right, well, the alternative is he probably dies, so I guess I'm okay with the idea of him dying. I don't know if it's really unpopular or not.
Oh, I know what it was. It was like Aang learned how to use the plot device of Aang learning how to open his chakras and let that be like kind of catalyst of him learning how to close people's chakras. Because by the end, at the end of book
I
two,
already buy that way more. That's like
yeah,
already more appealing to me because he's not inventing a new thing. It's just like, oh, you open these rivers, you shut off these rivers and other people. That's great.
yeah. Granted,
You
like,
your
yeah,
move,
I still want
Netflix.
the lion turtle somewhere. I mean, you can still do the lion turtles,
Yeah, it would still
in the
fit.
Legend of Korra. It's yes, yeah, exactly. I'm cool with it.
Your move,
It's
Netflix
good
series.
change. Roku's a bad avatar. So I recently got a friendly argument with someone about Roku being a bad avatar on Twitter. I still think a big part of a big part of the fans think Roku was a good avatar, but I think if you look at it, yeah, he definitely needs a new PR team. Like Korra seemed like Korra got a great PR team. He got a lot of stuff in the book told about him.
It's
People
because he
see him in a
died
whole
young,
new
Chris,
light.
and when you die young, people tend to think positively about you. Roku
You
lived too
either
long. He lived
die a
long enough to
hero,
become
you
the
either die
villain,
a
Chris.
hero, or yeah, hey, it's true. People don't talk enough about how protective and smart Sokka is. Probably true. Taizula is a horrible non-canon ship. Their own dynamic is the platonic relationship of Joker and Harley. No, thank you. I think I agree with that. Also, I'm more interested in shipping Ty Lee with May, which is really the Harley and Poison Ivy dynamic instead of the Joker. Wow, really interesting way to think about those three characters.
That's a great
Um,
parallel. There again, I think it's a good opinion. I don't know that it's all that unpopular, but
yeah. I think a lot of people do ship Taizula, and
is
uh,
that
yeah.
weird to anybody else though? It's weird to me. Tylee may make a lot more sense.
And her last one, Ursa loves Azula and doesn't think of her as a monster. Again, I think there's a little bit of that. Fans trying to make Azula seem a little bit more sympathetic. Cameron says Katara should have ended up with Zuko. Jose Gasara, I'm sorry, Jose says Zuko and Katara would have been way more interesting of storyline than Aang and Katara. So more of that Zutara stuff.
And those
Which,
people are
like I said,
people
I
who are
think it's
trying to
a
shape love to fit their definition of love. And I'm not buying it. Get out
Patricia.
of here.
Patricia said Roku's dumb for fighting in the volcano.
That's a
More
reasonable
Roku.
opinion.
More. Jackie says a 12-year-old kid defeating Ozai in the Fire Nation seems very unrealistic and impossible to me. I think I always like that little story element of like the chosen kid who is like the world's softest kid but has to take on this responsibility. I'm
Hmm?
cool with it. Uh, if we can, here's one for you, Shawn, from Anna. If we can forgive Zuko, we can forgive Jet. Dude died a hero.
Oh, I mean, I'll forgive Jed. I just think he's a bad character.
Oh,
He doesn't have to be a bad person. He's
okay.
like
The
poorly.
thing
He's
is,
just poorly baked. That's all.
Theodore right underneath said, objectively, I say you're right, but subjectively, I dislike Jet too much. Uh,
Beautifully worded.
Terry says, I don't know if this is unpopular or popular, but I want Toph to have a villain rival. I fully agree with that. I never thought about it before. In the comic books, they tried to give her kind of a rival who could like earthbend toe to toe with her, and that never went anywhere. And that was kind of disappointing.
There again, I think you could have added more punch or more drama to the other wrestlers chasing her down.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you could have
yeah.
added more weight to that, and that might have worked. But
Taylor says I didn't care about the about Uncle Iroh or Toph. That is like,
That's
I
pretty
mean, one day
unpopular,
that's
my
like,
friend. Listen, you're
yeah,
entitled to
that's
that opinion, but I'm going to label that as wildly unpopular.
yeah. Uh, AJ, this is the last one. Says Katara should have ended up with Zuko, not Aang. That's anyway. Aang should have honestly ended up with Azula. It needs a bit
Chris,
of her darkness to be more relatable.
give me your best estimate. If you had to pick one side or the other, you had to pick Katang or Zutara. If you had to pick, you
Same.
don't get the other outs, or you don't get to pull a Shawn, just be like, it's a stupid conversation. What percentage is Landon? Is it like, if I'm saying I think it's about 50-50, if everybody
Oh,
in the
you
world had to
mean
pick one side or the other, what's that percentage going to
what?
wind up being?
What percent is it? I think it's like 55% Katang, 45% Zutara,
Okay. That's all I'm
or
trying to get is,
probably 50% Katang, 40% Katara, and
like,
the rest don't
I
care.
think it's unpopular, or I don't like it, but I don't think it's an unpopular opinion, right?
Yeah,
It's such a
I think
big
it's a
deal.
pretty. I think it has like the fiercest fans. It's a pretty.
It's a big one. Yeah, the biggest
Oh,
things I heard in there
I
was,
do. Keep going. Sorry.
I was just gonna commend the guy for saying that he didn't find Toph or Zuko all that interesting, and then the idea,
Mm.
it is nice to hear. I don't remember if it was Caitlin or somebody else, sort of defend Ozai as a villain, and that's a conversation that you and I've had before. It probably is an unpopular opinion that could use more discussion.
Yeah,
I don't remember if that was Caitlin or somebody else prior, but
I think it was Kaylee mentioned it, and someone else had mentioned it as well. But yeah,
Chris,
those are some opinions.
that was a lot of
Great
fun.
feedback.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in. Whether your opinion was popular or unpopular with us and or the masses, and we appreciate your comments and all your participation. Come back next week. We will talk about Legend of Korra on what will technically be our Christmas episode. Although, like usual, we're just gonna tell you Merry Christmas if you celebrate that. We don't like have anything else planned or any trees or anything.
We don't want to force you to celebrate Christmas as Christians.
No, that's not our
Sorry.
style. I do feel like we always have like holiday episodes, but our holiday episode is just like happy holidays. So yeah, come back next week and we'll talk about unpopular Korra opinions. I'm sure there'll be an appearance by a certain guy driving a certain piece of heavy machinery that seems highly illogical to me. He'll make an
Not by
appearance.
me. I'm not going to even bring it up.
I probably will.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time. I did not mute you. Usually we get a beat. Today we got a cough. Man, I can't even turn my head to cough, so usually I can be more polite and cough to the side, and I can't even do that today.